now we start beginning with the live stream. Going in for number 2 of the art streams 2 weeks in a row. Didn't think I was going to do that off the bat, but I got excited. Um, so the one thing I wanted to try and get fixed before doing this, one thing I wasn't able to get fixed. So we're going to be struggling with my inability to handle the buttons on this, so that's that. But okay. Uh, so I kind of counted last week as sort of a successful experiment. Things worked. I went longer than I was expecting, um, and didn't quite get as many sketches done as I wanted to. I spent a little more time on characters at the beginning of it, and then rushed in the last couple characters towards the end. This week I have a more set. I'm not expecting to get the picture done, but I have like a set idea of what I'm going to work on, and doing a set piece with uh, another character that we didn't look at last week. I've had something floating in my mind. I don't have poses down just yet, but we're doing the Machine Warrior in my Worlds Apart comic series that I started a while ago, trying to get back into actually working on again, so I'm building up the motivation for that. Uh, but yeah, the Machine Warrior, known as 4. So it's been a little while since I've last drawn him, and I've got an image in my head. I kind of have. I'm bouncing around on the posing I want to do, so I might experiment a little bit with that. But I've kind of settled on the background and the atmosphere for sure. I had 2 different backgrounds, kind of worlds that I wanted to try and draw him on, and the first one was a desert world, which I've drawn a few images with him in that style, but I decided to mix it up and actually go back with uh, the other world, a more sci-fi world, and it's a different color palette altogether. So uh, I kind of like the idea of what I'm going to be doing with the background there, which is going to be a city skyline silhouetted against the sky, so not the buildings in the skyline. I'm going to be trying to keep as dark and less detail as possible, just that silhouette look, and where the color of the sky and the atmosphere of that is the key thing with the background. But I've undecided on the pose. I've been leaning towards something a little bit more from a side angle. Uh, so I'm going to just try and get a good reference here of, and I would rather like the image be a little more that direction, but I'm going to start leaving the canvas as it is for right now. So I'm going to just zoom in a decent amount until I get comfortable with uh, what things are looking like on the page. Going to throw in the rough drawing. I might zoom out just a little bit more, and trying to utilize the button stuff to some degree. If I can learn to deal with that, that would actually be better. So I'm actually going to zoom in a lot more. Clean this up a little bit. Okay. Just trying to think about, do I want the head tilted up, the head tilted down? I'm not sure yet, so I'm going to kind of go maybe a little bit more of a down tilt for the character initially, as I'm going to rough him out, try and get a good idea of the posing, and force myself to work through dealing with a button that I am not used to actually functioning. on the other computer. So let's see here. Let's start. Head put in, and I probably will angle the head a little bit more so he's looking a little more towards the camera so we can get an idea of the lens, the eye lens. So maybe I'll kind of start throwing that detail in right now. Um, and I haven't decided yet the uh, amount of shading on the character. Like, what style am I going to go with the shading on the character? Do I go with the standard, what's in the comics? Of that hard kind of cell shading almost, um, that the hard distinct shading, or am I going to do a more soft airbrush look to the shading? All right, so just trying to start getting some of features here, so I have a good feeling for the initial pose. Let's see here. So my thought is something. I want him to be doing something with his right arm, but I might not be satisfied with what I choose, so I might leave any of the posing left to the left arm here, since he's looking this direction, a little bit more towards the camera. So, kind of figure out where the arms are gonna be. And might tilt that, his blade, his sword, a little bit more down. And I don't plan on having like the full body, so kind of like down to about the knees in the image. I don't want to do a full body shot with him, but we'll see where things go. Let's see here. Those. It'd be interesting. Left foot forward or right foot forward? Thinking right foot. Yeah. Just thinking about the pose there a little bit. Thinking right foot a little more forward. Right foot, right leg. Okay. And then also experiment with like how much do I want some of the cape, the cloth, uh, blowing in any sort of wind. We'll see about that. So let's zoom out, kind of get depth here. What I want maybe the background to kind of start being. So that's the horizon, but I kind of want buildings and stuff. The city skyline, maybe a little bit more built up towards this direction. If I'm going to leave it a little more drawn out, or if I'm going to close it in, we'll see. And I'm undecided whether I want to like try and throw in some mountains on one side behind some of the skyline. We'll see. And I might even drop it down just a little bit. But okay. So if that's the real quick, real rough, we'll start doing another pass through in sketch phase, kind of filling in some of the color, the detail and lines for 4. 4 is in the comic series, the storyline for the comic series, he's not a main character, he is a side character, which kind of stinks because I like the character a lot. He's one of those characters that I hope if there are any fan favorite characters, you know, uh, he becomes one of those because I do like his character a lot. That's interesting the way it's doing that. It's not darkening up as fast as I would have expected there, but it is what it is. His design is based off a robot design that I did for a much older comic I did when I was younger. Uh, I had a, one of the villain mm, sidekicks. Not quite henchmen. Somewhere between henchman and assistant. Uh, in one comic, and it was kind of uh, naval pirate themed. And I just loved how that character looked, and I didn't have a name for the character for the longest time. Finally settled on two, because he was number two, the number two guy for uh, the second in command. And when I decided, it's just not, the pencil's not doing what I want it to look like, but we'll work through it. Um, it's gotten too thick. What happened to that? It's where it's supposed to be. Uh, uh, but I really liked the design. Or is it just the color? I don't know. And circled to about, 10 years later, roughly, start working on characters for Worlds Apart and just experimenting with digital art more and more. And I decided I wanted to do something with that character design. Um, and kind of settled on something a little hard to say. You describe it as I draw inspirations from Samurai Jack in some aspects and other things. So it's like a little bit, I don't know, that whole Ronin or samurai themes or ideas getting thrown into the character. Uh, but it's like hard to pinpoint, like say like, okay, I'm deliberately drawing from this uh design style or something like that. I was still the theme, the idea is there, but as far as the actual design goes, I was trying to not like look up stuff. I was just trying like, okay, what feels good for what I'm drawing for the character I'm drawing, and that initial sketch that's in the thumbnail, that was pretty much the first drawing for 4. So that's his inception sketch. And not a whole lot has changed with his design uh, in the years that followed. More or less working on uh, just narrowing down. Okay, how many pieces of gear is he wearing? What are the components to his outfit that he is uh, uh, currently carrying on his person? You know, and narrowing down some of the little details. And he is, a slightly more uh, detailed. He's got more going on in his design than the main cast for the Worlds Apart comic series. The cast of characters I drew last week. Um, so for sure, he's a more time-consuming character to draw. So that's why I'm like, as I get through, I want to get through at least the initial sketching and hopefully line art, maybe throw in, the flat colors for the character tonight. So we'll see how much I stay focused and get done on that. I might have to draw that in. So let's see here. But yeah, during the early days of developing 4, uh, I knew I was drawing off of this one character from older comics, uh, and all right, I got 2, and I got 4, and I started thinking about the characters too, a little bit more on the villain side of the spectrum, not full on bad guy, but he's not really a living the life of a good guy, and I wanted 4 to you know be a hero for the little machines, as I was referring to them back in the day. Those who couldn't stand up for themselves. So uh, kind of an opposite of 2. And I had some other designs, and ended up making the whole uh, family of machines. A whole sibling of 4 siblings for this run of machine characters, of robot characters. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna stick with the naming convention here. It's like I had 2, 4, 6, and 8. Stuck with the even numbers, kind of getting that little cheer squad uh, to the naming convention there. Uh, so 2 and 4 were the first 2 characters. 6, I did a drawing of 6 a long time ago. I was like, all right, this is the sister sibling. A more just kind of free flowing, free spirited individual. And then 8, I decided, I was like, this is gonna be the hard worker, kind of your um, uh, blue collar worker. So I kind of did like a heavier frame, a heavier construction for the character, um, to be a construction worker, something like a heavy lifting construction robot. And never really settled on any stories to start building with the characters. The whole cast of the family, but I was like, I still wanted to have that family be there. That's the family history for a group of machine characters. And it's funky what the pencil is doing for me this week. And I'm avoiding that button as much as possible. And so far, working okay with that. But we'll see how far that goes. Alright, this is going to be a tricky part here of really trying to get the sword and the waist and everything like that actually lined up the way I want it to be. So I just need to start roughing it in. So I don't think we're going to go with like insane detail on this. Hmm. Yeah, I think that's about good there. Let's bring out the hilt a little bit there. So try and get an idea of where handle on the blade, maybe a little higher. It's supposed to be a little bit longer handle. The initial inspiration for the sword is, kind of based on the katana design, without being exactly one-to-one, you know, a katana, which I know those have a little bit more curve than what I've got going on here. Not like an extensive amount of curve, but at least I think. I'm no expert on swords, so just what inspirations I draw from, which a lot of that inspiration for some of these character designs or concepts, I get a lot of it from the cartoons I watched, and one of those main ones was Samurai Jack back in the day. I didn't realize until, watching through Samurai Jack, um, again, after getting as much of the series on disc as I possibly could, and then when the final season was airing, I was like, I did not realize how much Samurai Jack influenced me as a kid in my storytelling and what I liked. So uh, definitely, you can start to see. You can be like, okay, yep, I see where the character inspirations and story ideas or motives are being pulled from Samurai Jack. Alright, so we got the belt there, which I feel like that has to come up a little bit more. I feel like that. Just looking at, you know, chest, the weight, where the waist is. So okay, is it this tool here? Okay, yeah, that's my lasso select. So, to, okay. Ooh, that did not work at all. It's definitely this button on the side of the pen. It keeps messing me up. So if I want to raise that, yeah, I like that. This is all just still roughing out the sketch, trying to get more of the details in line. Got deselect. Deselect. Got it. Yeah. Once I get a little bit more going in here, I can start seeing where changes could be made. Yeah. Ooh, that's something I could do. Just thinking, like trying to get an idea of something to do with the right arm. I had a couple ideas. One idea was I was thinking about drawing him holding a flower. Um, the other idea just recently had was thinking about having him like up on our rooftop, and what if he's like right up there against the edge of the rooftop, and so he's got his and he's bracing himself up against the ledge. So that was an idea I just had. So if I did that, let's see here. We I'm not sure if I'm gonna like how that looks in the end. So just rough that out, kind of get an idea. So if I do that, then I'll change kind of what I need to do for the background here, because now I gotta draw in the ledge, which was not something I was planning on doing initially. I'm not opposed to it. So just kind of So we'll experiment with that, see how that goes. One of the main design features that I've liked about the character has been the overly wrapped forearms and lower legs in the design. Something that kind of got a little more exaggerated with time, but it's one of those elements of uh, character's appearance that I really liked and wanted to be a highlighting feature and helping with some of the silhouette to a degree. Because otherwise, you're just gonna have stick arms, straight, you know, bare stick arms. So it's like, all right, let's throw in uh, a little bit more uh, weight, a little bit more uh, to the design there. So that's kind of why I started exaggerating those a little bit more over time. Okay, so let's see here. Just thinking about thumb here. Maybe do kind of more of that direction. Something like that, yeah. Might bring those in and bring the thumb up as well. Just making his hands seem a little too large, I think. In which case, that allows me to bring this in a smidge. And now one thing I need to double check, actually, is one small detail on the arms at the elbows. Let's see, I think this might be a reference picture I can use real quick. Load. Okay, one on the left side. All right. It's this little, just a little like wire one on one side, two on the other side. Just this small little detail. No real good purpose, but it's just one of those small details. So I think we're getting there with the waist, the torso, the upper torso here. Um, and because of that, if we're going with this here ledge and this form here, what I'll probably end up doing is having the image kind of being a little bit more here, so I'll be kind of closing it above the knees and really darkening out this area. So I'm not going to get too concerned about the detailing on the legs so much, especially since that is, uh, you know, can be kind of a boring or annoying area to draw sometimes with the character if I'm not doing an action pose. If I'm just doing a standing pose, which is mostly what we got going on here. So let's start cleaning up a little bit, settle in some of the garments here and leg posing. Just get some quick lines in. Alright, so we got the belt there. Try and use the button effectively here and there. So, left leg, get that drawn in. And right leg, kind of settle on where it's gonna be. Rough in the spots. Technically, the knee should be a little bit higher with the perspectives. And cloak. Ooh, what am I doing? What button am I hitting there? So, there. So this is all going to be heavily shaded in when we're all said and done with coloring and shading, so I'm not going to get too worked up about details. I might just throw in a little extra of what's actually going to be visible, just so that I feel comfortable. Yeah. Very quick, very messy, very sketchy, but it's what I want to get in right there. So, if this is the pose that I'm going to settle on for this image, now we'll just clean it up, make adjustments as I want. So I kind of want the cloak here a little bit more flowing in the top portion here, saying that catching a little bit more breeze. So, let's see what this looks like. And it'll change and look better here and there, depending on once I start throwing in some of the shading, what I decide to do for the shading. So let's see. We'll go ahead and throw in this. I don't use these, straight line tools on characters very often. I like to keep my characters fairly organic and when drawing them, but definitely when I'm working on background elements, set elements, I will utilize, you know, straight ruler tools or whatnot as much as I can, as much as I feel comfortable with. So, try and get that perspective of depth there. So I'll just settle with this side and worry about back behind later. Alright. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and kind of do line work, see where we're looking with line work next. See if I can quickly throw that in, make that look the way I want it to look. And as far as the character, how he appears in the comic series, sometimes I like the rough sketch look. I'll quite often just clean it up instead of doing the full, going into a more clean lines. But I'm gonna try and do a more clean line look for this drawing. And whenever I'm doing that, I go in pretty close quite often. It's like leaning right into, you know, your piece of paper. You're focusing, you're dialing in. So I think this will start looking better once I get the lines in and get it first, flats for the character, and I'll airbrush and kind of rough in my background. Now start giving me a better idea of how this image is going to look. And I'll throw in a little bit more detail as I'm doing the lines here. So with the lens here, a little bit more depth. The eye lens. Oop, get off the button. Got on it anyway. It's like when I want to hit the button on the side of the pen to actually utilize it, try and actually utilize it, I struggle to hit the button. Not when I'm just trying to draw. That's so easy to hit the button at that point. A little bit to the cloak there. It can be hit and miss sometimes when I'm trying to draw a little bit of the detail in cloth elements on my characters. So sometimes I just kind of gotta play with it a little bit. So I'm gonna kind of give a little inward curve here, bring it out. And not bring it all the way down. I think something like this. Yeah. Might go in a little bit more. Use the button. Later, kind of look at it a little bit later. But so far, not too shabby. extra little creases there. Get over the arm just by a little bit. Let's see here. I'm going to actually bring this in. Just thinking about where the arm is here. Kind of bring this in like this and maybe do another crease like that. See how that looks in the final result. All right. I'm going to bring some attention down to our left arm here. Really go in. Try and get the curves here feeling good on the cloth wrap. I'm gonna try to not have it be like overly exaggerated and overly bulky, but still, you know, the design is to have it be a bulky wrap around the arms, because his arms are really right there. So it's definitely a thick wrap of cloth that I've got him wearing around not just the arms here, but also the lower legs, the shins. But we're not going to get to see that much in the drawing that we're currently working on. You can kind of see it in the centerpiece drawing of the thumbnail. So, but even then, those are a little less exaggerated as it has become over the years. There we go. That's where I want that to be. That's good. And I can finish off the arm, get the straight elements of the upper arm thrown in. One thing with doing these live streams here with the mic I've got, I sometimes worry that the sound of the pen on the tablet might get picked up. So if it is, I hope it's not too annoying, but I hope that the sound suppression that I've got going on in the mic is enough, in the mic and in the streaming program is enough to, kind of cancel it out where it's not too bad. Unlike, it seems quieter than the keyboard at least for when I'm doing the gaming streams for sure. So hopefully that's not too bad. Though if I get too frustrated and start, you'll hear that. All right, let's little detail into the hilt, get that lined. I could maybe do fix up the hands a little bit. Say, because they're close, but they're not quite correct. Even that right there is not quite correct. So I'm going to bring it down. Kind of leave that area alone. But because I'm changing the angle, I'll change the lines on the joint to try and reflect that angle a little bit. So I'm trying to show a little bit more depth in his fingers. There. So I'm going to do another layer because I need to experiment with thumb placement here. And probably the overall sword placement, which means if I go down to this layer, I think I'm going to have to delete that off of there. So I feel like I'm going to be tilting the sword again. Go ahead and draw in the sword and then mess with tilting it until I feel like it's in a better hand position, the way that he's grasping it. So just kind of rough in and adjust placements on things. Let's go ahead. And this is just going to be another rough sketch layer, even though I'm using the, pencil that I use for the lines, but since I'm going to be moving this, it's going to get slightly fuzzy, a little distorted in the program when I rotate the layer to adjust the sword placement. Just something I've picked up over the years working with this program. Even though this is a newer version of the program that I like using. Okay. Maybe we'll center this maybe a little better. Something like, see, even then, that dropped it in an odd position. Okay, there we go. So that's our sword. Let's throw this back in there, and we will start rotating this layer until the handle placement feels better. Which that's about where I would like that. Yeah. Much better. And I'll even change some of the details. on it. Let me go ahead. Decrease the opacity there so that it's looking more like, all right, it's angled here. So here's the end. Get the depth just the way it needs to be. All right, now we'll draw the thumb on this layer there. We'll just hide that layer for right now. This needs to be a little more clear see-through. There we go. Like once I start getting focused into the drawings, like I'm relaxing, I'm leaning in more, I'm thinking about it more. At the start I'm pulled back, trying to uh, you know, stay back, and like I'm getting engrossed now in the actual drawing process. And since we've tilted um, a secondary layer for the sword sketch, I'm going to erase the original layer there a little bit, just so I'm following the correct lines. Alright. And this will get tricky trying to keep nice clean lines all the way down. I don't want to use a straight line tool on the characters. I don't like doing that. So just eyeballing it and calling it good when I zoom out. Definitely gonna be some areas where I'll try and clean up the lines. Alright. Yeah, if I can get all this line working and throw in a nice start point with the colors, so we can start bringing it together, I'll feel happy about that progress for this week. I kind of am planning on this being a 2-week drawing, a 2-session drawing. I don't plan on getting it all completed tonight. But if I can definitely get the line work here and some color, I can say we made some progress. Because it's quite often, that's just the way it is for me. It's gonna be a, couple evenings worth of work for a more involved picture. I've got another drawing, another piece that I've had in, the work in progress phase for quite some time with for that I hit the background, throwing in the background elements, and I just hit a wall with working on that. I was like, oh boy, because I started getting buildings in and started throwing in colors to get a start feel for the overall atmosphere in the image, but I knew I needed to start work on, the crowds of individuals or in the background, and like I got overwhelmed with that. I was like, I'm not ready to tackle that just yet. So, but this one, I'm not dealing with crowds of all different kinds of individuals of shape, sizes, and numbers of appendages and whatnot, various alien kinds. So I just had to deal with uh, buildings and silhouettes in the sky. So much more ready to tackle that. So we'll definitely be finishing this image before I finish that other image. And I just kind of let the lines be a little bit more messy towards the bottom here. Let them get a little bit thicker, a little more bold and messy towards the bottom because I'm planning on, with the shading and stuff and coloring, uh, darkening down in the lower half of the character here. You know, more of the attention is going to be at this level here rather than down here. So it's going to be part of the framing that I'm going to be doing with the coloring and the shading. Which is why I'm not going to get too concerned with how thick and how neat the lines will be along the legs. Somewhere right in there. Oops. Obviously, I'll be seeing little mistakes here and there long before everybody else and be like, oh, you know, I might even see them and nobody else would know what I'm talking about. Where I'm going, oops, over. Such as thing with artists and their works, whatever their medium is, they see what the flaws are of their work, while other people are like, hey, that just looks nice. I could never do that. I can't paint on a canvas, but I can draw in a notebook. I would love to be able to paint on a canvas and have it turn out nice, but I have not developed those uh, skills. I know I have some talent that can go towards that, but I just don't have the skills that are required of that style of art. I have been doing a lot more painting, just not on canvas. More in the miniature and figure realm. Alright, I'm done working on the legs. I'm tired of it. I got tired of that real fast. I want to finish the torso, the arms and stuff like that. I want to get towards adding some color and then seeing the image start coming together a little bit more like what I envision. So, let's get to that point sooner rather than later. Add in some details on here. Just small amounts there. Excellent. Ooh. It's like it just feels like empty space there, but that's gonna be filled in with color. So okay. Kind of fill in the waist there. Take a look at the sword a little bit more. Again, kind of do the same. Wrap. Oh, that should be another thing I should look at for reference material. I did the crisscross pattern on the sword. That's what I did in the past. So, let's try and stay consistent with that. That's a pattern everybody likes. There we go. Not perfect, but it's definitely something. I can hide that layer. I could probably just delete that layer altogether. Delete. Same there. There we go. Don't need those anymore. Don't need them anymore. And we're going to add in more layers and try and be a little bit more varied here than what I initially drawn. Okay, let's see here. Have this one going like so. Something like that. There. Follow those lines. And then I'm going to clean that up. Yeah. And shift lines a little bit. I need to add one in like that up towards the top there, just a little bit. And one more. That for this arm. There we go. Alright. And then I'm going to take, because it's been an hour, take a sip of water. Stay hydrated a little bit. Here we go. Starting to feel it now. Starting to dry out. Okay. I will finish the back of the cloak. I'm going to have this come down into that. Well, this clumps up a little bit, and then we'll have it flow down. If I would stop hitting the button. There we go. Nope, 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 nope. Got a little carried away with that. Hmm. Go. Just playing with it until I think it looks good. It's one of those things like I'm still learning and growing, getting better over time with drawing characters in from different angles and the the perspectives, the viewing angles for the characters. So still growing, still learning, trying to experiment and branch out uh, in those regards. So no way my professional levels, but as long as what I am able to do looks good in the style that I draw in, it's like I can be comfortable with that. Even that feels like I need to. I'm actually gonna have this drawn down like here more. Yeah, I want that more. That. Now, quickly go in on the right arm. Kind of play with the curves there. Yeah, that's definitely how you know I'm starting to focus. I'm losing the chat mentality, the keep talking mentality. So hopefully once I get these lines here, I'll finish up that and we can get back to more chat-like mentality. Thing I didn't draw much on this arm was, the elbow joint here. I don't think I'm gonna need to. I will just draw a little something in there. Something no one will really actually pay attention to, really notice all that much, but throw it in there for the sake of making sure that it's there in the character. It's like I got it in there. I know it's there. And we're gonna narrow up this batch of wrapping. So I don't want that batch being too outrageously larger in appearance and scale, even though it seems like it is. Definitely seems like it is. When I zoom out, it still seems off, and it's in this lower section here. So we'll try and fix that a little bit. A little bit more of a curve there. Now, I get rid of the sketch layer. Start feeling more comfortable about that. There we go. Now, a little bit more of the tedious wrapping to do next. Let's get used to that button. Ooh, went wide on that. Do that and bring it back in. So I'm going to start changing the orientation of the wraps a little further up on the arm on this one, I think. So maybe I'll go start that process right here. Just a little bit. Kind of have all of these lines real quick. Something like that. Just briefly throw in a little 3D-ness there and the fingers. Something I would normally do, but I want to have that in there to kind of show exactly how thick these digits really are. But these ones are being viewed from the side, so I'm not going to really mess with them there. One thing I'll maybe do, we'll throw actually a little bit of a niche there. Alright. some of the last details I'm going to throw in on the head piece. And hit a button I did not know I was going to hit. Par for the course. I know what I'm doing. I'm hitting the opposite button, and then, hitting the, what was it? Yeah, hitting that. That's what I'm hitting when I'm completely zooming out. Now, this is one of those areas where the more detailed of a sketch that I would do, I would show a little bit more depth in, the depth in the headpiece. But I want to stay within kind of the overall design and appearance in the comic series as it appears. So I'm gonna keep the smooth shape. I'm not gonna mess with the depth element here in these rivets, these indentations along uh, the head here. So I'm just going to throw in the little details here and there, even though they're completely off. One right there, right there, right there, and then there would be, fourth one more towards the top. One's on the side. I'm going to move them a little bit more, curve them a little bit less extreme. So I'm not following the initial sketch layer. One, two, three, and four, somewhere up towards the top. And a little off. Okay, there we go. So, but those details on his head, basically, if you saw it from the top, so center, basically four-way symmetry in his head design. Let me throw in four. So that's roughly, if you were seeing him from the aerial view, that's how you would see the head plate here. So that you fully understand, the detailing that's going on there. Okay, that's why that's doing that, and I can't edit. Where's the delete? Okay, I don't remember. Well, we'll just do the basic cut. Eh. Well, that's not working the way I want it to work. So, going to the brush. The growing pains of working with a different version of the software you're used to. A newer version. There we go. So, calling that for the rough sketch work and line work. Now, I will throw in a layer for some of the lines. Start getting some elements of the background in place before we throw some color in here. About there. Okay, so there we go. We got foreground element, and let's throw in those colors real quick. That's the tool I want. And let's look here, look at the palette. I think starting color is, because this is the color palette is arranged differently here than on the MacBook. So I think it was, we'll start with there for the main kind of steely blue. Yep, that's the correct one. And I will need to bring up the reference image since it has been a hot minute since I've drawn him in color. All right, there we go. All right, that gray and that gray and that gray. He's a machine. We got a lot of grays going on in this color palette. All right, so finish up here. Got the blue right here. This is also the same color blue that I use in the gene coloration in the main cast of characters. So for their pants, their jeans, it's the same color blue. So I try to utilize the same palette for different elements of characters here and there. You know, here I'm using it for the kind of a bluish metal color, but in my Bioan characters, the main cast characters or more human characters with clothing, I'll use it more as like a denim uh, coloration as well. And I don't think there are any other elements of him visible in this image that are going to be that color blue. Now, let's bring up gray. Now was no, that was a different color gray. Yes. That was the darker gray. Throwing grays on the digits. And we'll see how long I keep those lines there showing the depth. I might remove those later once I add in shading. But I just kind of wanted those there, you know, at bare minimum as sort of a reference of the thickness for the thumbs and fingers for the character. But I probably good chance I will remove those towards the end of the drawing process, which will not be this week, so they get to stay this week. Yeah, they're good for now. But next week, their time will come. Or if I come back to it next week, their time will come. But definitely the next session. Their days will be numbered. And because I made that way large, yeah, there we go. I feel like that needs to, nope, that's going to stay that color. Oop. That's why I actually don't like using this button for that tool, because I have to keep pressure on that button when I would rather just click it, have it be active, move around the layer, unclick it, and deactivate it. That's what I would rather be doing. That's what I would rather be doing there. But that's not how it's working. See, I'm learning what I like and what I don't like about this version, the art program, and learning what I will have to just get over. I'll have to get over it. This is always the fun part, is actually coloring in the drawings. Always loved it. Never liked the finalized product on pencil and on paper, especially with markers. Always hated that. Uh, it would look better with colored pencils when I would draw with colored pencils, but still, it's like I would lose something in the original sketch, and so pencil and paper, pen and paper, I just leave it in sketch format. But uh, I wanted to have color in my drawings, so I was like, all right, well, I need to go to digital art then. So I saved up money, got myself a MacBook and an art tablet, and got the uh, Sketchbook Pro bundle. It had like a free version of it, and later on I was like, I liked it so much, uh, paid for more feature complete version. Especially had access to more than just 6 layers. I could use as many layers as I wanted, and boy, that made all the world of difference in my in my drawings. So, but going to digital art is like, all right, I can finally start doing color in my pictures and not have them turn out terrible. Not lose the original sketch. I could still keep the original sketch and have a version that looked beautiful in color as well. So I love digital art for that reason. Because otherwise, most of my stuff would end up staying in black and white. I would very rarely, add color through colored pencils. Never crayons. I've never liked crayons. Just something about them kind of. I used to say I was allergic to crayons. As a kid, it just seemed like I was always getting like my nose was running more often when I would be handling crayons. I don't think I really was allergic. It was probably a little bit more of a placebo thing going on, maybe. But I just never liked drawing with crayons. Pencils were always the better option for me. Uh, you know, did markers a lot, the Crayola markers a lot, but they never looked good when I applied marker to my drawings. Let's see here. All right, it's one of these colors here. I know that much for the cloak. I think it's this color. It's like they're all very similar, but once you get enough of it on the actual image, I think this is the correct one. Yeah, we'll say it is. You guys don't know the difference. You don't know what I'm talking about. You don't even know who this is. Alright, Luke drawn in. I think that's the last batch of color that really needs to go on character. I don't know outside of the belt, but get the fabric drawn in, and then I'll very quickly do something for the background before I call it a night this week. And we'll clean up coloration and stuff on the next go around. Just really trying to throw it in. Going to get a little bit more messy here. And we'll say it's coming down back there, just kind of filling that little gap of where light is going to be creeping through. So what I'm going to do to speed up the process is go along the outsides and along where we got the color changes. And then I'll back out and kind of go in a... I might not need to as much as I'm thinking. Now if I just hurry it up. I just quit yakking. Hurry it up. Yeah. Want to... I forgot about the belt here. I'm gonna get that colored in, though I think that's gonna be the... Yep, that's the wrong color. Let me check my reference image. That's the wrong color. It's a brown color. There we go. A little bit of cleanup there. And, alright. There we go. There's the flat colors for the character. I can bounce off the reference image. And we'll throw some color in the background. So I'm going to do a darker gray here for... This is what I'm going to do. Like so. Let's kind of throw in a chunk here. Let's see, where's... Okay, that came pretty close to where I was envisioning the ledge behind him or off to the side. The way it would angle off kind of in a corner. So I got pretty close right off the bat. Not too shabby. And then if I just do, say I'll take... And just kind of like so. Move that off the side since I've not learned how to get this to actually, you know. Yeah, those shortcut keys are not doing what I want them to do, so. Delete them the old-fashioned way. Clean it up later. Go. Behind this, I'm going to block out with some black, just kind of some basic, uh, what I might want cityscape to look like very, very quickly. Taller building here. Say, maybe some tiers to some of these buildings. You know, there, something like that, just really quickly. And we're gonna go in with the airbrush tool. Okay, that's what that size is, and we're gonna go much, much larger. Yes, much larger. Okay. I'm going back to my reference image that I'm utilizing. I can see what the palette is I'm going for. So I'm going to be kind of going for a little bit of a very um, very pale green and blue, a little bit of yellow or kind of brown going into it, but sticking with a little bit more of a uh, pale and darkening towards the uh, uh, the more light towards the horizon, darker more up above. Yeah, I'm blanking on proper terminology for that. The uh, sort of the uh, reasoning for that being like for this world, it has the way that the sun pans across the horizon, it doesn't reach the same height in the sky as it does on Earth. So it stays at more of a lower level in the sky based on where the main city and location of this city is on the planet. The way that it rotates, the way it's tilted towards its parent star. So uh, it the atmosphere and the feel during daytime is it's always more early morning or getting ready going into the evening. It's never a full uh, big bright sunny day feel to the sky, the atmosphere for this world. um, so that's the feel uh, that I cultivated and really like, and it offsets the other main um, world in the comic series, which is a desert world, and so you deal with more fully um, fully lit, more harsh uh, light um, and clearer skies and that sort of stuff. So kind of throw in let's see here. I don't want it sticking too gray there. So experimenting until I find just the right balances here. It might drop back the flow. So it's all going to be experimenting back and forth until I get something just right. No, that's too. come back to our blues. Yeah. Get a little bit of green in there as well. Back to the blues. I want it kind of blue, get more in blue towards the top, and then we're going to start darkening it a bit more and bit more as we get towards the edge, and I'll refine it more as we go in the next session as we try and do more of a wrap up. But just kind of start giving you the feel of what the final product will begin to look like. I could probably start bringing the size of the brush down, the airbrush. So then just imagine I'll probably throw in some, a little bit of cloud stuff as well. And I'm trying to remember if I have that brush imported or not. It does not look like I've got that brush imported. The cloud one. No. So I'll have to work on getting that imported for the next time. But just kind of, imagine we'll have some kind of, ooh, some hazier, kind of thinner clouds filling the sky a little bit. Nothing too crazy. And then on for, I think what I'll end up doing is doing a airbrush shading on 4 as well. Very heavily having the highlights more on the left side, so we're kind of facing the horizon. And I might even pull the lighting a little bit more to the left side of the image as well. Something a little bit more like bringing it over here and having it darker in the back. But a lot of that will be experimented on next week. So let me back out some of the mistakes here. I think this is where I'm going to bring it to an end. About where I would like to have stopped for a first session on this. So, got the sketch in, figured out a pose, made it work, got something going there. Threw in some color, the line works, started work on laying out the background, all that stuff. So, I think we'll call that good for right now. I'll save the file afterwards. So, I don't know for sure whether I will be back at this exactly next week. I wasn't thinking I would be immediately back to an art stream 1 week later. Uh, but I will be kind of having more, um, you know, alerts ahead of time of when I do the art streams. Now tomorrow the regular gaming live stream will pick back up. We skipped last week, so tomorrow same time as usual for the Friday night live streams. I'll be getting right back going into session 4 of my Psychonauts playthrough, and hopefully we'll make a lot more progress tomorrow in tomorrow's session than I did session 3. So I'm hoping for that. But we'll be back in dizzy, disorienting land right off the bat tomorrow. So there you go. I hope you found some interesting insight into at least my personal drawing process as far as digital art goes. I know I didn't divulge a whole lot of details, especially story details related to this character, but it's kind of hard. It's like, what do I talk about this early when I actually have very little of the comic out there public presentable. I haven't even gotten to the point in the story where he appears yet. So I was like, don't want to do any spoiler stuff. So I'm very limited on the actual character that I'm working on in this image to be able to divulge information on. But uh, we'll see how that goes. Maybe I'll have some more ideas uh, in the next one as we finish this up. So that should do it for this week. Uh, yep. Hope you enjoyed. Like, subscribe, comment, yada 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 blah. I'm gonna be starting to do that more often. It's inevitable here on YouTube. So and uh, tune in for the gaming streams every Friday night. Except for the few times where I say nope, not gonna have one this week, but otherwise there will be ones 8 p.m., 10 p.m. Central Time. So I think that will do it. I don't think I'm going to shill anything else, so hope to see you all next time. Enjoy the rest of your evening, your night, or whatnot, and until the next session. So, adios.